Hello, guys. This is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, back with another show and tell tonight. And my guest is Jack from Jack's Trax Records. He is just so knowledgeable, and all of you guys seem to really enjoy having him. So he's going to be showing his Rush and Cheap Trick collection tonight. So I'm very excited to have him. Jack, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited. I love the series that you do. I've watched a couple already, and they're very interesting to see what people collect. And there's definitely some interesting ones that I wasn't aware of that people collected. I remember last week or a couple weeks ago, you had someone that collected globes, and that was really interesting to me. So I'm very excited to be here.
It is fun, and we'll have to have you back on because I know that you collect playing cards as well.
I do, yeah. That is in the storage room right now, locked in a lot of cardboard boxes. So that would be fun if I got those back out and showed some of those.
Well, guys, if you are not subscribed to Jack at Jack's Trax Records, I've linked him down below. And, of course, any of the moderators in the chat can throw his link in. So go subscribe. Jack is incredibly knowledgeable and has a great channel. So let's say hello to a couple of people. I see Cindy from Mimi's Treasure Cottage is joining us. Hello, Cindy. And Tammy Renee Walker is here. Hello, hello. And Vintage Vinny is in the chat. Hello, Vinny. And Diana, Little Vintage Me, 64. And Sabrina Simon is here from Simon. Let's Make a Deal. And Tammy's got a question for you, Jack. She says, Jack, do you know anything about Uriah Heep? Is that one of my favorites?
Yeah, I love Uriah Heep. I'm actually planning to get one of their releases for Record Store Day. They're releasing one of their albums. I believe it has Magician in the title. I think maybe you would know something about that, but love the band. And yeah, I'm excited to maybe get their release. I've listened to the album a couple of times, and I'm really liking it. I've never really dove deep into their discography before, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Really good, I would say, under the radar band.
Fabulous. So guys, again, if you have any questions for Jack as this is going on, just throw them down in the chat and I'll be glad to throw that up on the screen so we can get it answered. Mary R is joining us tonight. Hello, Mary. And of course, the chat just jumped as it always does in StreamYard. Hi, Kat, Calypso Antiques. I just bought a cool record from the sale that Kat had with Gina, so I'm excited about that. Hello, Donna DeMama. Welcome, welcome. And Angela is finally home from work. Yay, Angela. Hello, hello. And Debbie, our Vagabond Travels, is here. And Debbie will be having a sale this Thursday. So you want to tune into that at 5 o'clock. I'll be on with Jeannie from Norma Jean Plus One. So that will be fun. And Melody saying, good evening. I'm a huge Rush fan. So we have some Rush fans in the house, which is great. And Tiger is joining us. Hello, howdy, howdy, Tiger. And Annette Fain and Tina Hendricks and Carrie. Oh, Carrie's awesome. She's a stellar moderator. She put in Jack's channel. So thank you, Carrie, and welcome. And Stephanie is joining us. Oh, hey, Stephen. Welcome. I haven't seen Stephen in a while. Hey, Stephen. I'm glad you're joining us. And Christina Gohanowski is here, and LJ. And she's saying, LJ is saying, is that a vinyl collection behind you, Jack?
It is something of the sorts. There's about 500 back there, so it's kind of getting out of hand at this point. But
you're gonna be like too many records soon.
It's an addiction for sure.
It really is. Hi, Mel. Mel is from Finland, so Mel's coming all the way in from Finland. So I'm so glad that you are here, Mel. And Annette, loving Rush. So awesome. Hi, guys. Welcome, everybody. So, Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your channel's about.
Yeah, so I'm Jack from Jack's Trax Records. I explained a little bit about my channel last time when we did the All About Vinyl special. So that was very fun to make, and I'm very glad to be back. But yeah, I talk a little bit about vinyl. I'm a huge Rush fan, as you're probably seeing from the title of this video. And yeah, a little bit of everything about vinyl records. It's a great introduction, in my opinion, if you're new to the hobby and you're looking to try to get into it and see all the tricks and tips. I would really suggest my channel. But yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Fantastic, Jack. So, Jack, how did you get started into collecting vinyl?
So, it's an interesting story because, much like Stephen Schnee, I was a CD collector, and I wasn't like hardcore into it, but I would go into a record store which happened to sell CDs every once in a while, and just look at the section. Never really wandered into the vinyl section. I kind of just stayed in the CD section, and I got all my favorites. Rush, obviously, Cheap Trick, which we'll be talking about a bit later. But yeah. Thank you, Steven. Uh, but yeah, I kind of did that. And then one day I got a little adventurous and I went into the vinyl section and I just looked at these big round black discs with grooves and I was hooked.
Oh, I think Jack froze there for just a second. I see.
And I got
Jack, you're frozen. Oh no.
my back.
Okay, you're
Am I
back,
back now.
I think you're back.
Okay, good. Am I good now?
You're good now. Go for it, Jack.
Okay. Yeah, what was the last part that you heard? Sorry.
I heard the last thing you were saying is you fell in love with those big black round discs.
So yeah, that I was kind of hooked from there. I didn't even have a record player. I just loved the.
Jack, you're freezing. Why don't you come out of the stream and come back in? Okay, Jack? Sorry that
and the format. So, all right, let me try one more time.
Jack, come back in. Can you hear me on your end? Okay, Jack's going to come right back, folks. We're just having a little bit of technical issues. And I think that's been a thing everywhere because I've been noticing that a lot of people have had stream issues. And I really think it's the weather and everybody being on the internet all at once. I see some more people coming in that I didn't get a chance to say hello to. So hello, Tacky is me, Daniel. Melody saying, yes, Stephen, I hear you. He is amazing. And yes, Jack is amazing. Annette Fain is saying, yes, Stephen, this kid is blowing my mind. Yes, Jack is really amazing. Hello, Belinda Carroll. Welcome, welcome. And Chicago Lady, Jeannie is joining us. And everyone else in the chat, a big hello to you. And I'm adding Jack back into the stream. Are you back? I think we're all good, Jack.
I think I'm good. Sorry about that.
No hurries. Go for it. You were telling us about how much you enjoy vinyl and how you got into it with the big black round discs.
Yeah, so after that, I didn't even have a record player. So I just loved the format and the big art on the cover, and I was just hooked from there. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Yep, I saw that Frankie Valli album for me in a record store, and I love Frankie Valli, and I thought, oh, I've got to have this. And then I got a record player, and well, just like you can't have just one, you got to have 500. LJ is saying, where do you find the best vinyl records?
Well, I did a whole video about this, and the main kind of argument is the in-store argument and the online. And there's many pros and cons to it, and I think we touched a bit about that last time when I was on. But I find in-stores a lot easier, but obviously we don't have a record store near you. That can be a bit challenging, obviously. So yeah, if you're desperate and you don't have a store near you, I would suggest sites like Discogs or even eBay. If you go kind of to a rabbit hole on eBay, you can find some really good stuff. I think really people kind of discount eBay and say it's just for other stuff. I think eBay is a great source, especially if you you can find really good deals on eBay if you look hard enough. So yeah, I think that would be my main.
Yeah, I get a lot of my records from eBay or Discogs, especially some of the older ones that are hard to find. And our record store is having some issues due to COVID, so I haven't been able to go. I've really been missing fruit digging. But yes, when you're in store, you don't have to pay shipping, which is nice.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to each of them.
So Jack, show me your first album that you ever got out of your Rush collection, and was it expensive or inexpensive?
My first out of my Rush collection. So my first out of my Rush collection happens to be my favorite, and I'll switch the camera here, and hopefully it won't give me too much trouble, because I worked very hard on this angle. So let's see if there we go.
There we go. Great.
So right here, it's Moving Pictures. It's my favorite record of all time. Always loved this one. It has a great track list. And this is an original of the album. And I found it for, let's see how much I found this one for. $9.99. So great deal for me. And I love this record. It's my favorite Rush record of all time.
Really great price, Jack.
Yeah.
I have to say, for $9, that is a good deal. And Moving Pictures is my favorite Rush album, too. So we share a common interest there.
Yeah.
So, Jack, show me what album is the most expensive one out of the Rush or a Cheap Trick that you have ever bought.
Yeah, so I'll show you out of the Rush because I'll get the Cheap Trick a bit later. But out of the Rush, that's a bit challenging. For me, probably it was this one just because of how many discs there were. And this was very cool. So this is the Time Machine box set. And it's, I know, very fancy, isn't it? This is the Time Machine box set. And this was a tour they did in 2011. And it happens to be one of my favorite live shows they ever did. And it was live in Cleveland, as you can see from there. And it's a 4-disc kind of box set with awesome pictures of the live show. And I think this kind of logo stuff was kind of a waste. This was the imprints that were printed on Neil's kit when he played live. So I think there could be more on the jacket than just the logo of that. But definitely some cool pictures. Just the LPs, though, nothing extra, which was kind of disappointing. But just for the music alone, it was a great show. So this would probably be the most expensive. This is probably going for about $75 now. So
oh, wow.
Yeah.
But what a great set. It's nice when you have multiple vinyls in one package with some really cool pictures, I think.
Yeah.
I really am enjoying that. Okay, so my last question for you before I let Jack totally take it away is, what album has the most unique story to it that you have in your collection?
Unique story. Are we talking Rush collection or entire vinyl collection?
Or Cheap Trick, whatever, what you want to show.
All right. So this had a very interesting story because I'll show it here. This was actually sent to me by a guy called the Vinyl Archivist, Patrick, and he is one of my favorite channels that I watch. Really, really great guy. And I mentioned to him on a stream or something like that, I didn't have this album, and it's one of my favorites. This is kind of where Rush earned the nickname of the Zeppelin, or the Canadian Zeppelin, people called them, because they were very blues influenced, very much like Led Zeppelin. So that's kind of where they earned that nickname, this album and their second album, Fly By Night. But yeah, he was kind enough to gift this to me. Very interesting story because the package, I think, like got lost in like Seattle or something. And it came back. Yeah, so USPS, man, got to step up your game. But this had a very interesting story, and I was very happy for him to send this over. So yeah, that is a pretty interesting story.
That is fantastic. I love the Vinyl Archivist. He's got a great channel. Definitely go check out Patrick. And now I'm going to let Jack take it away. Now, my last couple of show and tells, I've asked a few more questions, but I think Jack has just such a unique collection that I'm going to put it on full screen and just let him show us what he has. Now, Martha is saying that she saw Rush only once in concert, but it was the Moving Pictures tour. And
that's the tour to see him on, I think.
I think that is the tour to see him on. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to let you take it back. Here we go.
Awesome.
Screen. Show us all of your fun vinyl.
All right. So I went over the first album, so I won't show that one again. But this is another pressing of that. And for those of you not familiar, a pressing is basically the first time it's ever printed, second pressing, second time it's ever printed, so on. So this, I believe, is a third pressing because the first pressings of this album were on a label called Moon Records. And this was an independent label created by Rush because they couldn't get signed. And once someone in Cleveland, I believe, heard this record, they signed to Mercury. So this is an incredible record. I talked about it before, but this is the third press of this, and you can kind of tell the difference because the Rush on here is a bit lighter than this. I don't know if you can tell or not the color difference. This is more of like a magenta, and this is kind of a pinkish. And then the backs, the center labels, this one is more bold, and then this one is more of like a thinner font. So not many differences on this one, but both of these kind of sound the same. So definitely a favorite of mine in the collection. The second one
is saying that she's seen Rush 6 times in concert.
So jealous. So yeah, this is one that I picked up from a website called Rollin' Rex, and they mainly deal in bootlegs and unofficial pressings and that kind of jazz. But this was really cool. I got to pick it up from there. It's Rush live at the Agora Ballroom, December 16th, 1974. This was about like a week before they released Fly By Night, which is really interesting. And it's fun to hear Neil on a lot of the early material because John Rutsey played on the first album. And Neil is my favorite drummer of all time. So on this particular record, it's very cool to hear him playing a lot of that early material because live, they don't play too many of those. So it's definitely interesting to hear it on this particular recording. But it comes on white vinyl, and I believe this is the only colored Rush record I own. Comes with a cool little inner sleeve there, so you can kind of see that. So yeah, Rush hasn't gone too deep in the colored vinyl rabbit hole yet, but I'm sure they will at some point, just like every other artist's discography. This one, Fly By Night, their second studio album, one of my favorites. Mark Anthony Kay of Project Gemini owns the project is a great prog rock band. It's so good. He has an album called An Ordinary Day, and that is a great record. But this is his favorite, actually. So yeah, I totally agree with him. It's a great record. I love the cover of this one. This is probably my favorite Rush cover of all time. So I love the cover of this one. Has some great tracks on it. This is when Geddy really went into the whole screeching thing. And I don't want to say screeching because people complain about it. I love his voice, but this is where he got a little high for me. But yeah, love this record. This is one of the Rush represses. And what that is it was a repress. It was like a reissue. I believe this was 2015, and it was direct metal mastered, and they sound great. I prefer these more than the originals, so I'm trying to get an original and a reissue. I haven't done that for all of them yet, but I've got some of them covered. So this is a reissue, and I love this album. The reissues are out of print now, but you can go and still snag a couple at record stores or some leftovers on Discogs or stuff like that.
And a lot of people are loving that owl cover.
Yeah, I love this cover.
Great cover. And we have a couple of questions coming in about the protective sleeves. And so if you want to go back and watch that episode I did with Jack on getting started in the vinyl, we answer all of that.
Yeah, talk about outer sleeves, inner sleeves, all that good stuff if you're interested in watching that. That was very fun to do, by the way. That was a great experience. I hope people learned something from that. But this is, I don't want to say it, but it's probably my least favorite Rush record. And there's kind of a joke among Rush fans that every Rush record is the best Rush record because all of their albums are so solid. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be this guy. And this is Caress of Steel. This is when their label almost dropped them because this album did so poorly. This is an original or maybe a second press. I'll have to look more into that. But I don't know. I've never been as of a fan of this album. They definitely got very experimental here. Maybe, dare I say, too experimental. But yeah, I love this record. It's a great one, but it's probably my least favorite out of all of them because I love every Rush record, but it's just so hard to pick a least favorite. But this would probably be one of them. So Rush, Caress of Steel. This is an original. So, this is a reissue of the same record on 180-gram vinyl, like the Fly By Night one I showed. This has a different spine there, which doesn't matter too much, but I listen to this one if I'm going to listen to any of them because I just love the sound so much more. So, yeah, Caress of Steel, one of my favorites. I keep saying one of my favorites because Rush is my favorite band, and it's so hard to not like a Rush album. So I'm going to be saying one of my favorites a lot, even though it's like one of my least favorites. Definitely a confusing story.
I think, like you said, every Rush record is good. I mean, because
It's
Rush
the best
is so classic.
I can say, though, that this is probably my second favorite. And this is the one that everybody gets into. Yes, it is live. Rush 2112, great record. I feel like a lot of people know this one because it's just so iconic. This is what saved them from their label dropping them because Caress of Steel did so poorly, and they were basically like, you got one more record, or you got one more record, and then if that doesn't do good, then we're dropping you. And they released this, and they just went all out. They could have either gone commercial or just went all out, and they decided to go all out. That's the kind of band they are, and this was a insane success, and I love this record. 2112, it's called that because the first song, Passage to Bangkok, is 21 minutes and 12 seconds. So it's shortened on this, but the original is 21 minutes and 12 seconds, which is just an insane amount of time. But yeah, a lot of people became a fan from this particular record. So yeah, I can say with 100% certainty, I love this. So yeah, I don't have an original of that yet, or I don't have a reissue of that yet.
How much are the reissues going for that record, Jack?
Those are the ones that are probably most available, probably like $30 or so.
Which is not terrible.
Yeah. It actually has a hologram in the middle of it. So if you shine a flashlight of it, that like Federation star that's on the cover, it actually spins around. You can see it like printed in the dead wax, which is really interesting.
That's pretty cool. I've yet to try that with the Star Wars record.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. This is Rush's first live album, or not their first live album, but their first released by an official label, or All the World's a Stage. And there's two main live Rush albums, Exit Stage Left and All the World's a Stage, and people will argue all day on which one's better. I'm more of a fan of Exit Stage Left, but again, it depends every week. This is more of the earlier material obviously, with a lot of the 2112 stuff on it, and the Fly By Night stuff. So yeah, they didn't play too much of Caress of Steel on this album, but still, it's a great record. And I would say I prefer Exit Stage Left more, but I still love this one. So yeah, All the World's a Stage, and you can kind of see the 2112 aspects on it with the logo there for the album, and Neil's drum kit, which gets bigger and bigger every tour. So yeah, you can watch videos of his drum techs setting up his stuff, and it just takes so long because he's just got a massive kit.
Have you ever seen Rush in concert? I know you said you've seen Cheap Trick several times.
Yes, I have seen Cheap Trick several times. I saw Rush in concert once, and it was on their R40 tour. It was their last tour, and it was so cool to be able to see them. It was a really, really great experience. My grandfather introduced me to them, and yeah, I was hooked from them on. And me and him went together, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, great show. And unfortunately, Neil passed away, so no concerts will ever be happening. But I'm hopefully, I've heard some rumors that they may be touring with Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, which Neil's a huge fan.
That would be awesome.
So if they toured together, I would be the first sale. So yeah, that would be so cool if Mike took over for Neil and they kind of did a tribute tour. That would be very, very cool if they did that.
That would be awesome. And Dream Theater's so good.
Yeah, so good. They're what kind of got me into metal. I know a lot of people say they got people into prog, but I was already into prog. and they kind of got me into the metal. So they're a great segue if you're trying to get into prog or metal and you're already familiar with one of them. They're a great segue. So yeah, they introduced me to bands like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and all of that kind of stuff. So I owe a lot to Dream Theater. Yeah.
And Vintage and Vino, that's Jerry and Tim. I think I got their names. They said, I think we are still living in the 70s. Best music ever.
Yeah.
And great memory for Jack with his grandpa. Yes, indeed. Okay, Jack, so take it away. What more do you have to share with us? This is all so fascinating. Oh, I think we lost Jack there for a minute. Jack is 12 years old, if you're wondering, Melody. Oh, no, I think we lost Jack. Again, sometimes with this internet, guys, it's a little bit funky.
My back.
Okay, you're back, Jack. You're in the solo layout now.
All right, great. All right, sorry about that. So this is A Farewell to Kings, one of my favorites. So Farewell to Kings is one of my favorites. I love the cover for this one as well. I think this is probably my second favorite, with Rush Fly By Night being the first. And I love the record for this one. It's got a great track list. Xanadu is probably my favorite on this one, but Cinderella Man's great. Obviously, Closer to the Heart was, I believe, their first #1 single. So this is incredibly important for Rush fans, and it's a great record. There's mainly Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings people argue about and say what's better. I personally think Farewell to Kings is better, but it's a level of personal preference. I think Rush Hemispheres was a little more experimental, but yeah, I like this one a bit more.
Now, how long, Jack, has it taken you to build up this Rush collection?
Let's see. I started it. I started it actually when I started collecting vinyl, because Rush Moving Pictures, that original press that I showed you, was the first I ever bought. So I'm guessing it's really been however long I've been collecting, but it really started probably mid 2020, around there. So yeah.
And are you finding most of these Rush LPs at record stores, or have you bought, like you said, you've had to buy, or you've wanted to buy some of the second or third presses, so you get those online? But where is your spot for finding most of these?
It started in record stores. It really started in record stores because a lot of these are very available. They're very accessible in record stores and stuff, such as Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves. A lot of that mid 80s stuff is very accessible, but when it gets into the earlier stuff or the later stuff, I had to buy a lot of it online. Obviously, a lot of the reissues I had to get online. So yeah, I got the beginning stuff for me in record stores, and then kind of the later stuff online.
Fabulous. All right, so what's next?
Hemispheres, which came after A Farewell to Kings. And I don't know if I'm allowed to show this on YouTube, so I'll just cover the cover there. But it's a great album. La Villa Strangiato is a very famous song on here. And this is a very cool center label, the Mercury center label there with like the brains. It's a very interesting choice, but I really like it. There's some really, really great ones on here, and I would really recommend it if you're into the more proggy Rush. But besides that, it's definitely not one of my favorites. But yeah.
And LJ is asking if there's a magazine for vinyl collectors, and just how in general did you gain your knowledge?
As far as I know, I don't think there's many magazines for vinyl collecting, but if you're really trying to get some knowledge, I would really just recommend going down a rabbit hole on YouTube. I mean, there's some incredible information out there. People are so knowledgeable, and I've learned from a lot of these people. I don't know if Steven Schnees is still in the chat, but he's a great resource for information. Steven is so knowledgeable. The Vinyl Archivist knows a ton about pressings, and yeah, he's a great resource as well. And if you're looking to get just beginning in it, I would recommend Jarrett New from Vinylize.
Yes, Jarrett New's fantastic.
He talks a lot about the beginning stages of it, how to set up your record player, what different kind of discs are, such as flexi discs or Edison Diamond discs, or some more kind of things like that. Great.
Yes, and I have a link if you're on my page, and I'm sure Jack does as well, but you can see all the people in the vinyl community, the VC that I recommend and subscribe to. So make sure you go check that out, and I'm sure Jack does as well. And Tia Fane is asking if there are any other Canadian groups that you follow. Tia Fane's coming from Canada.
Yeah, so Rush, obviously my favorite, but I love Project Gemini, and I don't know if I stress that enough in my videos, but I listen to him so much on Bandcamp, and he is from Canada. Mark Anthony K. I would highly suggest his channel. He also talks about his vinyl collection on his Project Gemini channel, which is also very interesting because Mark is a fascinating guy, and he's also a huge Rush fan. So check out Project Gemini. Great project from the great Mark Anthony K. I would really recommend it.
Wonderful. Okay. So I can't wait to see more records, Jack.
All right,
so collection.
So this is an original of Rush Permanent Waves, and I love this cover. Rush did a great job with the covers, and this is this is probably my third favorite. But there's a lot of characters that Rush includes on the covers, like the Hemispheres guy. There's tons of characters that Rush includes, which is very appealing to me because it just makes it that much interesting. But this has a great set list: Jacob's Ladder, The Spirit of Radio, Free Will. Great tracks on this album, and it's one of my favorites. Probably my third favorite Rush album ever. Really great. I have 3 copies of it. This is the original US. This is an original Canadian. That I got, and it's on a different label. It's on the Anthem label, which is very interesting to get records from the band's origin, because this is how they would have received them if they got their own records. So I've always found that interesting to get records from a country or place like that where the band is from. So it was very cool to be able to get my hands on this. And then finally, I just picked this up probably.
And I have to interject here, Jack, but I think The Spirit of Radio is probably one of my very favorite Rush songs.
That is my favorite Rush song, actually. That's my favorite Rush song of all time. Yeah. Love Spirit of Radio and this album. This is a reissue. And I picked it up like this weekend. And I love the reissues of the Rush catalog. I've already talked a little bit about them, but this one sounds great. This is probably my favorite reissue of the bunch. And because I appreciate this album so much, and I just loved hearing it on a whole new level. And this is one of my favorites, hence why I have 3 different copies of it.
And we've got a question coming in from Maria. She says, how many albums did Rush put out together, and how many years does it span?
It spans from 1974 to 2012. And their first album was the self-titled, and their last album was Clockwork Angels. Probably, I think maybe 20 albums. That sounds right. 20, I think. 20. A lot of them aren't available on vinyl. They are available on vinyl, but they're impossible to find. So that's a lot of that 2000 stuff or like 90 stuff I don't own yet. But I would love to get my hands on it one day. I hope they reissue the catalog again with Neil Peart's passing. I know a lot of times when artists pass away, they'll reissue the catalog and that kind of thing. So hopefully they do that again. And I would really like if they did that to get a lot of that later stuff that I don't already own.
Well, and in the 90s, there weren't a lot of vinyl around. Most of it was CD, so it does become hard to track things down in the 90s if you're looking for some 90s vinyl. Let's see. LJ is asking, how do you decide if a record is in good shape or its best quality? We can answer that here shortly, LJ, but if you want to go back and again watch that video that we did, Jack and I talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that now, or should I continue with the Rush?
Just answer it briefly, and then you can continue.
Yeah, so if you hold it in your hand, and I'll show you what I mean with this one. I guess we can do kind of a segue. This is Rush moving pictures of you. I already showed you the original, but this is probably my most listened to Rush record because I love the Rush. I love this album, but I also love the mastering and mixing of this reissue. But going back to what LJ said, you can kind of feel if it's warped or not, and if you can't hold it up to your eye level, you can kind of tell if there's a warp in it. It'll be really hard for it to play if the needle keeps jumping if it's warped, but that's always a sign you can look for. You can hold it up to the light and see if there's any scratches on it. This is a flawless record because I bought it brand new, but yeah, you can always see if there's scratches on it under a light or something like that. But once you get experience with it, you can kind of just hold it by the label like this and know if it's warped or see any scratches. It really takes the personal feeling with the record, and I know that sounds really cheesy, but
it does though.
Yeah, so that's what I would do. There's a lot of videos on that as well.
And if you're in a record store, you can always, if they've got a listening station, throw it down on the listening station and give it a listen and see if it's going to sound good or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So lots of great people answering in the chat and chatting about Rush. We got a lot of love for Rush in the chat. So if you've got any more questions for Jack, feel free to drop them in. And man, Jack, you just have such a good collection.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll go on with the Rush. This is a Canadian pressing of Exit Stage Left, by far my favorite Rush live album. And something very interesting about this cover is that they all feature characters from the album covers. So this is the girl from Permanent Waves that I showed you. This guy is from Moving Pictures. He's carrying one of the paintings. This is the owl from Fly By Night. We can go on the back here. Oh, have the back with the record there. But yeah, if you look at some pictures on Google or stuff like that, you can see they include a lot of the pictures from different album covers, which is very interesting. I love how they have different characters. So this is a Canadian pressing on the Anthem label, and then this is a original US on that Mercury label that we've seen a lot of times. This is the Mercury Skyliner. I think that's what they call it. Skyscraper label, which is kind of earned that's kind of its nickname. But yeah, love this record. And yeah, that's one of my favorites. And I think they're such a live band. I mean, especially Neil. His ability.
Jack, I think we're losing you again. I think the internet's acting a little bit funky. Martha was asking how many albums in total do you have, Jack? And I think Jack mentioned he's got over 500 albums in the back. Okay, let's see if Jack is back. I think you're back, yes.
All right, great. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think I left off. Rush is such a live band, and I love the way Neil can improvise. It's just so great how he can do that. And listening to the band just play together is just amazing. Even if it's not recorded stuff, like live recorded stuff pressed on vinyl, if it's just a guy with his iPhone in the second row or whatever, it's amazing to be able to hear them.
Kara and Joe's Gals Needful Curiosities is asking, Jack, do you have any Styx on vinyl? They're my favorite band of all time. And what are your thoughts on Kilroy Was Here?
I've never listened to Kilroy Was Here, but I do own Styx vinyl. I own the one with like the faces. I know that sounds it's very brief, but it has like faces on it. I've never done like a deep dive into their discography before, but I do like them. I was actually going to see them in concert with a buddy of mine because they were opening for a band. I forgot which band it was now because it was so long ago. Concerts, right? Long ago.
We can get back to that. I've forgotten what they are.
But they were going to open for a band, and I thought it was really cool. So I bought the album with the faces, and it was quite good. I haven't listened to it that many times. But.
And Mel's asking, Jack, do you know any or listen to any Finnish bands like Hem, Nightwish, the Razams, and many others?
Yeah, I don't think I have. If you can suggest one to me in the chat, I would love to listen to it. But I really haven't. That's a great point. I don't really think I know any Finnish bands.
I
So if
don't
you
think I do either. So we're both learning.
yeah, so if you want to put that in the chat of a suggestion, I would love to listen to it.
And Jean is asking, how do you keep track of all your albums? And boy, isn't that the hard thing of all vinyl collectors when you get to so many.
Yeah. So I have a database, and I don't know if I can share. I don't have it pulled up right now, but it's basically an Excel spreadsheet. It's a little different. It's on a software called Airtable. But yeah, it's just says the artist, the genre, the album title, and then if it has any like specifics, like if it's on 180 gram, on its specific color, if it's released for record store day, something like that, I'll make sure to add that in there. So that keeps good track, and I can search on my phone if I'm ever in a situation where I think I already have something but I don't know, and I can always search it up on there. So yeah.
That's fantastic. I got to get with the program and get all of my catalog. I'm working on it.
Yeah, Discogs is also a great resource for that if you want to really take it to the next level. I wouldn't have enough time to do that, just catalog every record on Discogs, but that's very like specific pressings, serial numbers, like very, very specific.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I've looked into that. It's definitely a specific site. Okay, so what else do you have for us?
All right. This was the album released after Exit Stage Left. It's called Signals, and this was the last Rush record in their prime. That's what I call it. And for me, it was Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, and this album. And this was the last one for me. I love this record. This is where they really got into the synthesizers. They touched on it on Moving Pictures, but this is where they really got into it. I mean, Subdivisions, the first song on this album, the entire thing is synthesizers, and it's so good. That's my favorite track on the album, but there's New World Man, Analog Kid, great tracks on this one. And the dog, obviously another character, which you'll see a recurring theme with these record covers with the different characters, but such an iconic album.
And Tammy is asking if you've heard of Uriah Heep, and I think we had talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the live.
Yeah, I have. I'm hoping to get one of their records for Record Store Day. It's called like The Magician's Secret, I think it's called. I'm not too sure if I got that title right, but I listened to it and it's quite good. I think Uriah Heep is definitely under the radar, in my opinion. I don't think a lot of people talk about them, but I'm glad they're getting love on this stream.
Well, I definitely hope you get that record, Jack. I know it can be tough at Record Store Day. I want the Elton John one, but oh boy, I'll get that.
Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that was like a album that was shelved. So that should be interesting to see.
It will be. All right, man. I am just drooling over all your vinyl, Jack. You have some great things.
All right, and then we have I don't know if this one's one of my favorites, but it's Grace Under Pressure, and I don't really know how to feel about this album. It kind of changes every other day, to be honest. But this is where they really got into new wave, and definitely an interesting record. It has Red Sector A, which is one of my favorites. I love that song, but that's really the highlight of this one for me. Besides that, there's not many great ones on this, and I hate to say it, but probably my second to least Rush record. But yeah, it's going from Signals to this was just kind of, I don't know, it left a bad taste in my mouth because Signals was so good, and then they released this, and I wasn't as big of a fan of this one. So I don't know. If you like it, definitely keep doing that. But I've never been really a fan of this one.
Do you think that most people feel that way about that album, Jack?
I don't know, because I talked to Carson Tucker, who is a member here in the vinyl community who is also my age, and he loves Rush. And it's his favorite album by Rush. And I was like, I was confused because I know it's an okay album, but my favorite album by Rush, I don't know. But I talked to him about it. He made some pretty valid points, but I went back with him with moving pictures, and I don't think he could say much after that. But yeah, he loved it, which is great. I've just never been that big of a fan of it.
And Melody's saying she agrees with you. It's just okay. It's
Yeah.
And Vintage Vinny's asking, and I think you're right, Vinny, didn't Cheap Trick sing the intro song for that 70s show, which I love that 70s
They did,
show.
yeah. They did. Yeah. So next we have Power Windows. And this is one of my favorites, actually. I love this record. The Big Money's on here, and that's one of my favorites. Marathon is great.
Marathon is great.
But yeah, love this one. Rush Power Windows. I love the cover for it, too. Again, the characters. I'm going to say that every single time, but just so iconic with these different characters. And I love the cover, and the track list may be even better. This is an underrated one, in my opinion. I think a lot of people.
Rush has some great album covers. They really do.
Yeah. This is interesting because it's a 12-inch single, and this is for the Big Money, and it's on the Vertigo label right here, and it has the Big Money territories and a live version of Red Sector A on the B side, and that's what I listen to from this one. I really don't listen to the Big Money or territories because I can easily get that on Power Windows, but I listen to Red Sector A live on this because they did just such a killer job, and I really love this. Just to have as an item, it's kind of a cool collectible. So yeah.
And I see Melody is saying your friend isn't nearly as cool as you, Jack.
I love Thursday. He's great.
And Maria Empty Nesting is saying Cheap Tricks, The Flame brings back memories for me.
Yeah, that's probably one of their most commercial hits, probably. Yeah, great band. Yeah, so next is Hold Your Fire. I don't know about this one. This is maybe one of my least favorites as well. But it has Time Stand Still, which weirdly enough, I think was the first Rush song I ever listened to. And that is not a common thing with a lot of people. It's usually something off of 2112. And that kind of, the thing is about 2112 is if you're getting into Rush, that's going to freak you out. Coming from classic rock or something like that to a 21-minute song, that's going to kind of freak you out. So Time Stand Still was quite a good introduction for me to this band. And yeah, besides that, I don't know about this one, but I definitely like Power Windows a lot more than Hold Your Fire.
I think Tom Sawyer was the first Rush song I ever heard.
That is definitely a common one. Heard that a lot. I posted a meme on my Instagram a while ago, and it had the band, and it said, yes, we wrote Tom Sawyer, and we have a bunch of other songs, too. You should listen to them.
That's fun.
Pretty funny. Yeah. So this is the third released live album from Rush called A Show of Hands, and this is a lot of that synth stuff. This is when Geddy Lee had that really weird bass. And I don't really know how to describe it. And I'm a bass player, and I don't even know what bass he had. It was like a square-shaped body, and it was really tiny. And yeah, it was really weird. But yeah, this is where they got very synthy. As you can see from the cover there's literally someone playing a keyboard. So I don't know, kind of cool. Not my favorite Rush album, probably my least favorite out of all the World of Stage, Exit Stage left in this one. But it's still good to have. And this is one of the reissues that I was talking about. Sounds great. But yeah.
Now, what do you think that they did in the mixing and mastering? You touched on it a little bit, but to make those reissues sound so good, because sometimes, as we all know with reissues, things can sound a little funky.
Yeah, I don't study that kind of stuff, and I know a lot. It's mastered by Kevin Gray, and like I have no idea who it was mastered by or anything. All I know is that it sounds good, and I know that sounds very amateur of me. But yeah, I'm not a fan of like who mixed it or mastered it. Yeah, it's important to know if you're looking to grab something good.
Oh no, I think we lost Jack again.
All right, am I back?
You're back. Okay. I think Jack is back. Oh, Jack may be frozen
great.
here. Jack, are you there?
Sorry.
We're having a little technical
I'm there.
internet
I'm there.
issue. Your voice is there, but your hands are still frozen. Okay, Jack, I may have to have you come back.
All right, I'm back. There we go.
Nope, you're still frozen. Come back into the stream. I think that's what we need to do. Okay, Jackson, come back into the stream. Yes, I don't really look at who mixed and mastered it that often. I'm not as knowledgeable on that kind of thing as other people in the vinyl community are. Jack is coming back in. So thanks, guys, for hanging with us. I think the internet is just weird, and everybody lately has been having internet problems. And so it's so nice to have all of you guys in the chat. And Jack is back. Fantastic.
Am I back?
You're back.
Great. So yeah, I don't really get too much into who has mastered and stuff like that. But it was direct metal mastered, which is a great process. So yeah.
Fabulous. Awesome. And Mel's saying that YouTube has been freezing all day. And yes, that's what I've been seeing as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just you, Jack.
Yeah. And then the last Rush record is an album called Feedback. And this was their cover album. And I don't know if it's still in print, but you can get it from Acoustic Sounds, which is also a great site. I know if I'm recommending sites, that's a great one. But it has Crossroads on it and a bunch of other great kind of B-sides. And I had never really heard of this until I saw it. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard this. So I got it because it's Rush. And it's great. I love this. I play it a lot, actually. I play it a lot more than the other ones, surprisingly. But I wouldn't really consider it a real album because it's kind of a cover album. But yeah, the Crossroads on this, I love that cover. Probably there's my favorite cover of Crossroads, and I know there's a lot of them, but maybe one of my favorites.
And Martha Vintage Conversation is saying that she doesn't care much for remasters. She wants the music to sound the way it did when she fell in love with it.
Yep, that's a good point. And again, it's an argument, really. there's a lot of different pros and cons to it. That's like the same thing with in-store buying and online buying. Tons of pros and cons.
And I think with your ears, you could line 5 people up and say, hey,
Yep.
Tell me what you think. And someone might say, well, the remaster is better than the original. And someone else say, no, that doesn't sound good. I like the original. So it's really just a matter of opinion, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we go into the cheap trick? That's my
Yes.
All right.
We should go into the cheap trick now.
All right.
Jack is going to show more of his excellent collection here, man. He was so knowledgeable, and I am so grateful to have all of you guys in the chat. For all of you just coming in, if you do have any questions for Jack, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll do my best to highlight them. And I'm going to make Jack full screen again so that he can just tell us all about his cheap trick.
All right. So we'll start with the 12-inch singles, and there's only one 12-inch single, and the live albums. This is the one 12-inch single. It's called Saturday at Midnight, and there's the Super Dub Mix, which is basically just a remix, and the Super New Dance Remix. I never got really too much into that, the whole remix thing.
Yeah, I'm not much for the remix either.
Super New Dance Remix. Sounds very appetizing. But yeah, I don't listen to this too much. It's just kind of a collector's item for me, and I bought it for $2. So it was worth that. But yeah, this isn't really too great. So I won't go into that too much.
But it's nice to have in your collection as part of
it's a great
collecting.
Yeah, so the next one is the one that got everyone into Cheap Trick. And this was their big breakthrough through America. They were huge in Japan. And they were like the Beatles in Japan. It was crazy. They tell stories about how they were in their hotel room and they had to tape the windows with electrical tape just for people not to see them. I mean, when people saw them through the window, they would stop and they would get hit by cars. And it was just insane. And they weren't big here in America at all. So they played Budokan, they recorded this album, and that's what got them their kind of breakthrough in America. And this is an incredible record. This is my favorite Cheap Trick record of all time, obviously including live albums. But yeah, hello there. Just the greatest stuff ever. I love that intro. Goodbye now and hello there. Come on, come on. Big Eyes, Need Your Love. Obviously, Surrender. I want you to want me. Came from this. And that's just one of the most iconic lines ever. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I Want You to Want Me is probably one of the most common and well-known and biggest things for Cheap Trick.
Definitely. Yeah. And that line alone, they were told to speak slow. And they're quite fast speakers if you see interviews for them. And they were told to speak slow so the Japanese audience could understand what they were saying. And Robin just slowed everything down. And he said, I want you to want me. And it became this like phenomenon that everybody says. And it's very, very, very cool. That's how it originated.
That's incredible. See, I didn't know the story behind that song, so that's just interesting.
They were actually told not to play it. They weren't going to play it, and Rick Nielsen said, "No, I want to play it." It was one of his favorites, and he actually argued to play it, and it ended up being the single off of the album.
Wow, that is just amazing. Kara is coming in and saying that her husband saw Cheap Trick. They saw the Doobie Brothers too 3 years ago. Great show.
That's great. That's awesome.
I think my friend Coley, who's a big fan of Cheap Trick, saw them and the Doobie Brothers together in that tour they did.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know they were supposed to tour with Rod Stewart, who I've never been the biggest fan of. But if it's anything Cheap Trick, I'll attend.
Now, how many Cheap Trick concerts have you seen, Jack?
3. One in Washington, D.C., one at Merriweather, which is a pavilion here in Columbia, and one in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
How incredible. Yes, I miss concerts too, Maria. I really do.
So yeah, this is one of the Record Store Day releases, and I'm just noticing the sleeve is kind of torn there. But this is called Out to Get You in 1977. Sounds incredible. I absolutely love this. It's performed at the Whiskey A Go-Go in California. And it's pressed on those original orange Epic labels, which are very famous. And it's got a lot of the material from In Color and the first album. Yeah, great performance here.
Vinny is asking where you're from and if you are in Maryland.
I am in Maryland. Yeah. About 15 minutes north from Baltimore.
Oh, that's great. Vinny's in Maryland too, so maybe sometime you guys, although Vinny doesn't do vinyl, but maybe you can go crate digging sometime.
That would be great. Not too many people from Maryland here in the vinyl community, so vintage community. Sounds like some people are from Maryland, so that's great. So yeah, last live that I'm going to be showing is the Are You Ready tour. It was recorded in on New Year's Eve in 1979, and it was released as a Black Friday release for Record Store Day. So this is kind of the same gist as the one I just showed, just different tracks. Dream Police is on here, which is a very famous one, and a lot of that prime Cheap Trick stuff. Again, I'm going to mention that a lot. So yeah, this is the last live one.
And Southern Mermaid is asking, Tammy's asking, how about Steely Dan? I think a lot of us like Steely Dan. What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of mixed opinions with Steely Dan. I like their stuff. I like Pretzel Logic. That's one of my favorites. But when they got into the other stuff, they're kind of so-so for me. I've never been that big of a fan. But Pretzel Logic's pretty good. I like that one.
And Vinny's saying, oh, snap. That's about an hour from me. So you guys are close.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's great. All right, so I'm gonna grab the Cheap Trick box set. So I'll be right back. Should take me like a couple seconds or so.
All right, Jack will be back with that box set. Hello, Dumpster Diving Mo. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Jack can teach us a lot about records. Oh, a lot of records to Uncle Vinny. Yes, they sure could talk records. for sure. And man, I'm telling you, Jack is just so knowledgeable. I'm always learning things from Jack because the 70s and 80s aren't my area. I mean, I love 70s and 80s music, but 50s music and 60s music is more my thing. But I do have to say, I love Rush and Cheap Trick. They're great. And this album collection is very impressive. It is fun to see. Yes, Vinny. You guys should meet up since you're in Maryland. That's so close. You're only an hour away. That's just really amazing. Stephanie from Thrifting Adventures is in the chat, and she is saying that is very interesting. And it is. I'm telling you, I'm learning a lot here from Jack. I love hearing the stories behind some of these songs. It looks like Jack is back with his box set. So I'm going to put him back on the screen now. All right, Jack, take it away.
All right, so this is an interesting story. I had the idea for this probably like a year ago, and it was basically to take a standard record crate that they would take around. Record crate, great channel, by the way.
Great channel.
Standard record kind of case, carrying case, and I wanted to cover it in checkered board wallpaper, which Cheap Trick is famous for, the whole checkered board thing. So, and I wanted to make it kind of a custom box set that I could put all of the studio albums in. And I kind of made that a reality. And I think it turned out well. And I'm pretty proud of it. Looks like this. And this is, it's pretty heavy. So I'll try to, this is what it looks like here.
Wow, you did a great job, Jack.
So this is, record crates in the chat. That's awesome. Hi, Adam.
Okay. I'm glad you're
here. This is all covered in wallpaper, Cheap Trick wallpaper, and this is a sticker that just kind of sticks on there. And I got these from redbubble.com. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cheap Trick, obviously. And I'll show you some of the contents in here. I don't think I'll be able to show you the box anymore because it's so heavy. But I'll be able to show you the contents that is inside of it.
Pamela's asking if you like Fleetwood Mac.
I do. I love Rumors. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And I love Rumors. I love Tusk. That's one of my favorites. Penguin is great. I love a lot of their stuff. I like a lot of their earlier stuff too. So yeah. This is the first Cheap Trick album. This is where it all started. And I love the cover for this one. Probably my favorite Cheap Trick cover, except Dream Police. That's another great one. But this is what it looks like. First album ever. This is when they were more hard rock than power pop. And that's where they kind of fit in, power pop. That's what a lot of people still call them. But yeah, this is when they were a little more hard rock. And I love this album.
And Tia Fane is asking, didn't Cheap Trick get their name from a Janice Joplin song?
I don't think. They got their name from a concert that they saw, and I forgot who it was. They got their name from a concert that they saw, and they didn't like them. Tom and Rick went to a place in England, and they were seeing all these incredible bands like the Beatles and Zeppelin and all these great bands, and then they saw this like really bad band, and Tom said that was a Cheap Trick, and that's how they came up with their name. So interesting story.
I have to say, I love the font on all of the Cheap Trick albums.
Oh, yeah.
Very iconic.
Logo. Yeah, it's a great font. This is the second album in color. And you'll notice a recurring theme with the cover of these again. It's always Robin and Tom, the bass player and the singer on the top, on the front. And then there will be Rick and the drummer Bunny on the back. And I don't know if it's because these guys are like the cool ones or something like that. You can see they're on motorcycles. And then these guys are like kind of goofing around. But I don't know if that's the reasoning. I don't really know the reasoning behind that. But yeah, like kind of cool, goofy.
Definitely double gatefold.
Yeah. Love this album. This is an original press of this album. Big Guys is on here. Hello There is on here. Yeah, Cheap Thrills. But yeah, this is one of my favorites as well. The next one is Heaven Tonight. And this is also a great one, With Surrender, as someone kindly wrote on the outer sleeve there. A record store owner, like, yeah, this is the one.
All the things you find on vinyl is kind of amazing sometimes.
Yeah, so it has shrink wrap on it, which is pretty cool. And yeah, again, Bunny, Rick on the back, and Robin and Tom on the front. But yeah, With Surrender, obviously, as pointed out here, and Heaven Tonight, and awesome ones.
There's got to be a story behind that. I'm sure that you can dig enough online and find out about it.
I don't know if they want to admit it or not. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, that might not be something.
It was definitely a management thing to sell records, a label thing. That's my guess. But yeah.
Night Melody, and thank you everyone for joining. And a few of us are going to bed, but no worries. Now we'll continue on here with Jack's incredible collection.
All right, so then we have my favorite studio album by Cheap Trick of all time, and it is Dream Police. This is my favorite cover as well. I mean, just a totally great cover. I mean, if that's not creative, I don't really know what is. This was based on a dream that Rick had, the Dream Police, and that's why they called it that. And talk about a police lineup on the gatefold. Yeah, this is really cool. I love the gatefold for that. A lot of these music videos for this album are just great. Way of the World is probably my favorite on here. It's the song following Dream Police with the title track. Gonna Raise Hell is on here. Voices is on here. Every track that you would ever want from Cheap Trick usually comes from this album, which is why it happens to be my favorite studio album by the band.
Gonna Raise Hell is a great song.
I love that bass line for that song. Love that. I always love that bass line. And then we have All Shook Up, and this was produced by the Beatles producer, George Martin. And you would think it would be just amazing because Cheap Trick is so much influenced by the Beatles, just so influenced by the Beatles. And yeah, I loved this. So yeah, a lot of people don't talk about it, but I love it because George Martin produced it, and Cheap Trick had a great thing going with him. And this is quite an underrated album in my opinion, but love the cover again, kind of the train coming out there. But yeah, this is a great one.
It's amazing to think how many artists the Beatles influenced. I like to think about
so many influence, yeah. And this is where Tom Peterson went out for a bit, and I don't know the reason why. I think it's because he had kids, but I'm not too sure. I've tried to research it a couple of times. No one is quite sure why he left. I don't think he's been too open to it yet. But this is when John Brandt joined the band, and I much prefer Tom Peterson over John's playing. He's okay, but Tom is much more of a creative influence to me as a bass player than John has ever been. But One on One has She's Tight, If You Want My Love, some other great ones. But this is where they went into that 80s thing. So yeah.
And I like the Epic label a lot. What are your thoughts on Epic?
I've never liked obviously Cheap Trick I like a lot, but I've never been that much of a fan of the artists that they've signed. I like the orange one better than the blue one because it's just so classic and iconic, but I still like this one. It's pretty cool. And then should I continue with that one?
Yes. Oh, go for it, Jack.
Okay. Yeah, so this is very cool. This is actually a guitar that was made for Rick from Hamer, and he played it. And all the 3 times I saw him live, which was really cool. I have pictures of Rick just with this gigantic guitar, and he's very known for his crazy, outrageous custom guitars. This has the band. This is probably my least favorite cover. I mean, it has the hilarious guitar there, but not really much else. And this is probably my second to least favorite Cheap Trick album. Not too much on this one. That's very exciting. And then we have Standing on the Edge.
And Dana, sorry to interrupt you, Jack. Dana's asking, did you see the episode of American Pickers where they picked Rick Nielsen? And I did, and that was a phenomenal episode.
Not only that, but I've seen it probably 120 times. It's such a good episode. I love that show to begin with. But seeing Rick Nielsen on there was great. All the shirts and concert memorabilia was so cool. Obviously, the records for me, how he had Cheap Trick's, I guess, rarer records. He had some of those, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, he had some incredible things. It was a great episode.
Quite a collector himself in guitars. Owns over 35,000 guitars.
Yes, it was.
So that's amazing. Standing on the Edge again with John Brandt. Not a great standout album for me. Not too much to talk about here. I don't want to waste too much time because I know we're nearing the end of this. But I
so much time, Jack. We were all enthralled with what you're showing. So just go for it.
Yeah. So this is okay. Not one of my favorites at all. But I dig anything that Robin sings. So here we go with that one. And then this was the comeback. This is called Lap of Luxury. And this is where that little song you may know called The Flame is on. I love that song. Obviously, everybody loves that song. Don't Be Cruel, the cover's on here, which is great. Ghost Town is also on here. This is their comeback. And coincidentally, their comeback has Tom Peterson back on bass. So coincidence? I think not. This is a great album. And then we have my least favorite of all time, and this is called The Doctor. And I don't know really what to say about this one because if this was the first thing I ever heard by Cheap Trick, I don't really think I'd be into them like I was now. This is, in my opinion, a pretty bad album. And I don't want to say it because I love Cheap Trick so much. But this, in my opinion, is just not a great record at all. I love anything Robin sings again. But the band wasn't as strong in this period.
It's one of their more interesting covers, I'll have to say.
Yeah. One of their more interesting covers and definitely more of an interesting album. So not one of my favorites, but this is one called Busted, and I had to special order this from Denmark. All the way from Denmark this came, and this is where Tom Peterson is on it, and Wherever I Would Be is Wherever Would I Be is my favorite on this one. I love that song. Can't Stop Falling Into Love. This is where a lot of the ballads were featured on, and this is a great one as well. And then we have Woke Up with a Monster. This is part of the Rhino series, Start Your Ear Off Right. This they release at the beginning of the years, and Start Your Ear Off Right. Ear Off, very funny. But I also don't know if I can show this on YouTube, so I'll just cover it like that. So cool guitar there. Look, this is a classic Rick Nielsen guitar. He plays that in like every live show. He actually, for the new album In Another World, which I'll talk about in a second, he played this on the Colbert Show that they did the night before that album got released. So this is a classic Rick Nielsen guitar. It's on the back there. And then they went on a period where they didn't release any of their material on vinyl, which is disappointing for me. Rockford is one of my favorites. There's another self-titled album. They call it Cheap Trick 97. That wasn't released on vinyl. But here is one that they released in 2016 when vinyl kind of started coming back, called Bang Zoom Crazy Hello, how Rick Nielsen would say it. And this is with Rick Nielsen's son on drums, replacing Bunny Carlos. And yeah, this is another great one. This is when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was also a very big deal. They were really pushing that. And that was a big deal for Cheap Trick fans, but you can kind of see the cover there. This is where they got a little older. You can see definitely the age difference between the last one I showed and this one. But yeah, Bang Zoom Crazy Hello.
Mel is asking, Jack, do you wish you could? Oh no, am I having feedback?
It's fine on my end. Is it okay on yours?
Jack, do you wish you could one day in the future work with the music one way or the other? And are there any plans yet for that?
I'm hoping to be a producer or a musician. That would be, or a DJ. Anything related to music, yeah, I would love to do. That's kind of my goal. To be somewhere working in the studio as either a session musician or a touring musician. I really want to find which one. And just anything I can get involved in the music business is a positive for me.
That is awesome, Jack. Well, you've got so much talent, and you really are learning so much. Tammy's saying that she's had albums that the cover was better than the album itself.
I've definitely had instances like that as well. For me, actually, a lot of the times the worst albums or my least favorites end up with the worst album covers. So it's kind of the opposite for me there, but I've definitely had experiences like that as well, where the cover is better than the actual album.
Yeah, that's true. I've had it work both ways for sure.
Yeah. This is, besides their latest one that was released on Friday, this is their latest one besides the one that was just released, called We're All Right. And this one's okay. I like Bang Zoom Crazy Hello better than this one. But We're All Right is what they chant at the end of Surrender on the live versions when they go, We're all right. That's what they named this one after. Yeah.
Which is on that 70s show as well, which I think Vinny was asking about earlier.
Yes. So we got that one. And then we got their Christmas album, Christmas. This is also a really good one. I like this one a lot, actually. I wouldn't really consider it a real album, but it's pretty cool. They got some covers on here. And as 8 Vinyl Low put it, this is not your grandfather's Christmas album.
This is right. I remember her saying that.
Yeah. This is a heavier Christmas album for sure, but it's really good. I enjoy anything by this band.
And if you're not subscribed to 8 Vinyl Low, another great channel on the VC to check out for all you guys that were wondering about channels.
Yeah, and she's also a massive Cheap Trick fan. So we got the box here. It's empty. So we'll move on to the 45s, which I'm sure everyone's ecstatic about. I'll kind of go through these quickly because I definitely don't have as many of them as the LPs. So let me quickly grab those. So these are some of the pictured sleeves. This was one that was released. Sorry?
I think you're there, but I think you just froze for a second. Okay, we're back.
I'm back.
Jack.
Okay, so this is one. This was the Gimme Some Truth 7-inch that was released for Black Friday, and it's on a red vinyl, which is cool. And Gimme Some Truth, obviously the John Lennon song, and this is a cover of that. Sorry for my poor handling of that record there. But this was featured on In Another World, which was their latest studio album, which I'll show on CD in a minute. But this is a great one.
And you were talking a little bit about earlier with Rush that they didn't do as many colored albums. Do you find that the same with Cheap Trick? Because that one's obviously on translucent vinyl.
Yeah. I haven't ran across too many colored Cheap Trick variants. I guess the same thing. I never really thought about it that way, but that is a good point. Definitely not as many. This is one called Tonight It's You. This is a picture sleeve. This is Ghost Town. I love this picture sleeve. Bunny on the back there. Don't Be Cruel. And you can kind of see you can kind of see Rick in the window there, which is pretty funny. And these are all white label promos. So
ooh, those must have been fun to find, Jack.
They were, yeah. They don't go for too much, but it was still fun to find. Everything Worked If You Let It, World's Greatest Lover, Never Had a Lot to Lose, and It's Only Love.
And for those of us joining from the vintage community, can you tell us a little bit about what white label promo means and why that's special?
Yeah, so these were for demonstration, and they weren't for sale. So they were a promotional thing, and they have white labels, unlike the original Epic. So you can kind of see that white label there. I don't know too much of the history behind them. I just know they're for demonstration purposes only, and they were not to be given out. But obviously they've been sold and bought.
I've never been lucky to really find many white label promos. I did find one a while ago, but it was not anything worth writing home to your mom about.
This is the other Cheap Trick box. This is the second one. This is what holds the 45s that aren't white labels or picture sleeves. And it also holds the EP Found All the Parts. And this is also kind of a cover thing. It has Daytripper on it. I love their cover of Daytripper by the Beatles, obviously. I love their cover of this. And this is, it says all of this is live, but it's actually not. It was just extra crowd noise. I think that was like a Tom thing that he later added and was like, yeah, that wasn't live. So none of these recordings are live. They're just added to make it sound like it's live. So kind of feel like I've been cheated there, but still nevertheless a great little collector's item. And then all of the 45s that aren't white labels. So this is Voices, The Flame, I Want You to Want Me, If You Want My Love, Ain't That a Shame, I Want You to Want Me Again, Wherever I Would Be, and Can't Stop Falling Into Love. And those are the 45s. And then the last Cheap Trick thing. And the inside of this is cool because I guess I just got bored and I duct taped the inside of it with fun little duct tape checkerboard. So
I like that checkerboard. Really great job, Jack.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun little project. Obviously, it was the beginning of COVID when really nothing was going on. So didn't really have much to do. So I got those off of Etsy. And I just decorated it with wallpaper. That turned out pretty great.
It really did.
And then the CDs. So this is called Cheap Trick 97. This is a self-titled album by Cheap Trick, but it was released in 1997, so it didn't get confused with the first album. It's earned the nickname Cheap Trick 97. So that's that one. This one is Bang Zoom Crazy Hello. I already went over this. I don't really know why I still have this on CD, but still cool to have. This is their just released album, In Another World. I love this. I don't really want to say too much about it because my review is going to be coming out in a week. And I don't want to say too much about it because I want to kind of save my thoughts for that video. So if you're interested, I would really recommend looking out for that because I think I went really in depth into the album and I was very excited to because it is a great record. And these are all the compilations and live albums. The first one is a bootleg. And it's called Cheap Trick Unplugged. And there was 20 of these made in the entire world. 20. 20. Amazing that I got to have one of these. And it's very blurry there, but it sounds pretty good. And I was very happy with it. I bought it off of eBay for $15. And it's really cool. They play a lot of their stuff acoustically. And it's almost like MTV Unplugged without the MTV. Yeah.
So
and then we have
happen to find that on eBay. I mean, there has got to be a story behind that if there were only 20 of them made.
I don't know. This is a custom made cover. I know that, but it was a show played somewhere. I haven't looked at too much of it, but 20 of these made. That's amazing. This is when they played the entire Sgt. Pepper's album, and I stick it there because it kind of doesn't stick in the place where it's supposed to. Sgt. Pepper's Live, and they're obviously influenced by the Beatles, so they played the entire album live. And Rick Nielsen obviously got a custom-made guitar for it, as he always does. So it's a Beatles guitar. But yeah, I really love this one. It's a really, really great one to have. I wish it was just released on vinyl, though.
Yeah, a lot of albums are always on the list to be released on vinyl. For a lot of us collectors, we're like, come on, just do it already.
Yeah.
Tammy's asking if you like Alice Cooper. She said she had Schools Out with the sleeve pink panties and paper. Sadly,
yeah. I that's the. There's a lot of I don't know the best way to put it. There's a lot of argument about that record because it was quite risky. to do with that. But I love Alice Cooper. I love Billion Dollar Babies. That's my favorite album by him. School's Out is great. Welcome to My Nightmares, amazing. But yeah, I should have said when I liked certain Canadian artists, I should have mentioned Alice because I'm also a huge fan of him. I kind of forgot about him while I was answering that question.
Yeah, I like Schools Out a lot. I think that's a great song.
Yeah, it's a great one. And then these are the 2 greatest hits albums. These are the authorized greatest hits, and these are the, I guess we can call it unauthorized greatest hits. But yeah, kind of the same thing. This is a live version of The Flame, which is really good. Also, as Vinny mentioned, it also has that 70s song. So yeah, that concludes the Cheap Trick collection.
Well, that is fantastic, Jack. Man, you just had such a fabulous collection and lots of fantastic comments. I know all of you guys have been enjoying this, and we'll definitely have to have you back on, Jack, for more vinyl. I think we're all just enthralled listening to share your knowledge and just your amazing collection.
Thank you. I would love to come back. Hopefully the internet wasn't too much of a problem. Hopefully that will get fixed next time. But thank you all for staying patient throughout that. But yeah, I would love to come back and show more of this.
I don't think it was you. I really think it was something YouTube's been doing because they've been weird.
I see I have all bars right here. So I don't know. So maybe YouTube. I'm not too sure.
So Jack will be back at some point. We'll have to do another vinyl live together, and then maybe he can be back for show and tell and show his card collection. Now, Jack, you're in a band, aren't you?
I am. I'm not. It's not really anymore, really, because of COVID. It's been hard. It's really just me and my friend Jack, who's more of a country fan, the 2 Jacks. But we do some stuff together, and yeah. Me and him just kind of do stuff together now. It's less of a band thing now. But it's really just me and him at this point. And we have some stuff posted coming very soon. And I'll be making that announcement soon, maybe.
Oh, and I think Jack froze again. Oh, no.
Oh, am I back?
I think you're back, Jack.
Okay. Maybe an album coming soon for me and Jack. I'm not going to go too into that, but there will be an exciting announcement coming soon. But yeah, we've been working on it for quite a while. So
that's exciting. So beyond the album that you just mentioned, what is coming up next on your channel? Obviously, Record Store Day is a big deal, so there'll be some content for that.
That's scheduled to come out tomorrow at 3 p.m. So at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that video will be coming out. The Record Store Day choices. And for me, there weren't too many choices that I was interested in, and I'll kind of share that in my thing. I make fun of the picture disc deal, where there was a ton of them, and I called it Picture Disc Day 2021. So
I noticed that too. I was like, holy cow, there's a lot of fun.
So yeah, I just poke fun of that the entire time and call it Picture Disc Day. So that's scheduled to come out tomorrow at 3 p.m. So hopefully you guys are quite excited for that. But again, in another world, my review of the Cheap Trick album will be coming up shortly as well. And then some interviews. I know a lot of people have been doing those lately, and I've filmed some of those. They still need editing. But those will be coming shortly as well. So I hope that's something that piques some of your interests.
Oh, of course, Jack. And I'm really interested to see what you're looking for Record Store Day, because there's only about 2 LPs that I want, and there wasn't much on the list. I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I was too, actually, and I'm usually not by that list. I was, yeah.
So Beth is asking how old you were when you started collecting.
Vinyl, probably 10. CDs, like 3. I've always been into CDs. I've always had them around. And we've never been too much of a streaming family, as you can see behind there. And this is just my record collection that you're seeing behind there. My dad never really collected, and my mom never really collected, but we've never been like a streaming family. We've always been kind of a radio fan or a CD fan. So that's what I really like about kind of our family. We're huge radio listeners and CD listeners, but I've really only been the one to get into vinyl. But probably 10. And then I really started probably like 11 and a half or so. And now I'm here.
Now, I know that you talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the live, but just so we can refresh and we'll end on this question. Did you get into most of this music because of your grandfather or your dad or a combination of both?
Really my grandfather, and I talk a ton about him on my channel, and I actually filmed something with him a while ago that still hasn't come out yet, and it's where I pull different records from my collection and I show them to him, and he remembers when that came out and talks a lot about what it was like and what it was like for the music industry. And he's a very quiet person, but once you get him talking, he will go on, and I think I kind of got that going into him, so that was really really cool to hear his stories are just amazing, and I have to put that out soon. I don't have time in the day to edit all that and do that kind of stuff. But my grandfather, first thing he ever showed me was Van Halen, Running with the Devil. Then I got into Rush and Yes and Led Zeppelin, and he kind of introduced me to these bands and then didn't tell me much because he wanted me to discover things on my own. And I think that's a very important thing. I don't think, for me, I try not to over exaggerate different things because I want people to be able to go on their own journey throughout music business or throughout music and not be able to have too many suggestions. I don't want there to have their own journey. That's really what makes music special, to have your own connection with it. So that's what he did for me, and that's what I aspire to do with other people.
Oh, that is fantastic, Jack. And I totally agree. It's a journey that you just got to take yourself,
Yep.
get into something, get into an artist, just listen to their discography and really discover it. So, Jack, it has been so much fun having you on tonight.
Thank you so
Thank you for joining us. Guys, go subscribe to Jack. I don't know how you're not already subscribed. He is just fabulous, and he will be back for sure. Now, next week, my special guest for Show and Tell will be Dee from Thrill the Thrift, showing her lady head vases. So you want to tune into that. And stay tuned. I might have a fun friend mail unboxing coming this Friday. It might be live, so stay tuned for that, as well as my record store day video will be coming out this Friday as well. And you can see my picks for record store day, although there's not very many, but I'm looking forward to that. So again, Jack, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And as always, I hope you will stay in, stay safe, and binge YouTube. Bye-bye now.